Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope, the podcast, teaching you tools that you can use in times of stress and anxiety or great change. Now, that's what it's usually about. This is series four. Series four is all about me and chemotherapy. So this will have stuff about bodily function, etc. on it. So if that's really not your thing at the minute, feel free to leave and hopefully I'll see you in series five. I need to apologise first of all, because it has been at least 4, maybe 6 weeks since my last episode was put out. And the reason for that was I did actually record something 2 to 3 weeks ago, but either my computer or the platform picked up the wrong microphone. So it was all picture and no sound. And that was really frustrating. And the thing for me was I'd said it all then. And what I've discovered actually was this for me was about having all the information in one place and having somewhere to refer back to what me and my family and friends and stuff have been through. Um, and then additionally to help other people that are on the journey themselves with chemotherapy. Um, Not every journey is the same, but somebody else's story can give you a bit of an insight, a bit of a hand, a bit of a not feeling so alone, feeling like there's other people going through it, which when you go into those places, you absolutely know because they're just bunged, the waiting rooms and so on and so forth. Um, but what I also find with that was that it's very therapeutic for me. It's very therapeutic for me to actually just go bleh, do an info dump of what all has happened. Um, and so I find it very hard to get to the point where I would sit down and actually record this again. But here we go. Hopefully today it'll work. And also what I talked for 45 minutes, and that's too long. So I'm going to kind of bring it up, hopefully into of a bit more to add since I recorded that last one. So hopefully 2 30-minute sessions instead of a 45-minute session plus whatever for the next one. So we're on the 11th of June 2026. I'm going back to the 2nd of April 2026 for the carry on from the last podcast. And we got, I think the last podcast we did the CT scan results, which were mixed bag, the assessment and treatment number 4, and the birthday and the fundraiser. And I felt like I kind of whizzed through some of that. But hopefully you got everything from it that you needed. I was very, very, very grateful for all the stuff that came through in the birthday. Everybody, Catherine got people to write letters and she put them in an album for me, and very moving, very touching. Um, Very thoughtful, very, very thoughtful. And the fundraiser, Antrim Community Support Hub, put on a coffee morning for the fundraise for me, which was such a blessing. And again, so thoughtful. From the 3rd of April, the district nurses come out every Friday to change the dressing of the PICC line, and you do a wee venous return, venous as in veins, to make sure there's blood still flowing, and then they do a flush to clean it all out. But the PICC line wasn't working. So we ended up in Belfast City. You then phone the emergency helpline and they decide whether you're coming up or not that day or on the Monday or whatever. So they had me up that day. Which means Stephen has to leave work to drive me up. And they take an x-ray to make sure that the PICC line is still in the right place and it hasn't moved. And they then put in a medication, which I can't pronounce. I can't remember and I can't pronounce, to unblock it. And one of the times they did it, it was one treatment, and you wait, you put the treatment in, you wait like 30 minutes, and then they try for the venous return. This time they tried for, and they had to do 2 treatments. So they did the first one was 30 minutes. It still didn't work, so then they put in a second one, which they left in for 45 minutes. I don't know whether it's a stronger dose, or they just leave it longer, or it's a bit of both. So we were in Belfast City Hospital for 4 hours. And so, if you remember, the 3rd of April was Good Friday. Um, and when they sent me down from the planned treatment unit, PTU, to X-ray, there was a choir in the foyer somewhere. Didn't see them, but I heard them. And they were singing How Great Thou Art, which was my grandmother's favourite hymn. So, yes, that made me a little bit bright-eyed, a wee bit tearful. We hadn't eaten because the time before it had been like a 30, by the time you get the X-ray upstairs, got the treatment, you were out in about an hour. But this wasn't, this was 4 hours. And the thing with it being Good Friday was the cafes and the cafeteria and stuff in the hospital closed. So thankfully I had put the shop stayed open, and I had put like a granola bar in my bag and a banana. And Stephen went and got something similar from the shop, and that was what we had instead of lunch. Um, and yeah, you would kind of think at some point we would realize these, but we never do. We always think it's going to be like the last time where it was only an hour or whatever, and then it ends up being 4 hours on Good Friday. One of the times the district nurses came and did, because not only do they clean the PICC line and stuff like that, they do my blood pressure on the other arm, obviously. The PICC line's in the right arm, they do the blood pressure on the left. And my blood pressure normally sits at 125 over 75, but for some reason, well, no, I know exactly what it was. I was worried about the fact that the PICC line wasn't going to be working, and that I would have to spend the afternoon in Belfast City Hospital again. And I was getting to the point where I didn't want any more treatments, and I didn't want, and if the PICC line was playing up, I was just going to tell them to remove the PICC line, and that would mean I wouldn't be having any more treatments. So when the nurse did my blood pressure that day, it was 140 over 112. And that was with one piece of equipment, an electronic or electrical piece of equipment. So she decided to do it manually, and she still got the same results. So then I have a wee one that you put on your cuff, and I brought it out on your wrist, not your cuff, your wrist. Um, I brought it out and I did it, and it was the same reading. So it was so high she called for a second district nurse. So whilst we were waiting on the second district nurse, I started tapping and singing. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I did that. I tapped the whole cycle round the meridians and the face and the chest, and sang that until the second nurse arrived. And by the time the second nurse arrived, my blood pressure had dropped from 140 over 112 to 140 over 80, which was much more acceptable to them. So later that day, I think two things happened there. One, the PICC line worked, so there was the relief of not having to go to Belfast City Hospital again and not having to sit and wait and so on and so forth. And two, the tapping. And when you're singing, because I was singing, every little cell in my body is happy, you're breathing properly. Or I'm breathing. So it's all about the nervous system. You're getting the nervous system to calm down because you're not in any immediate physical danger. And later that day, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when I did my own wrist blood pressure again, it was down to its normal 125 over 75. So it just shows you how much stress, internal conversations with people about PICC not working and arguing with doctors and so on and so forth, who aren't there. It's all in your imagination. What it can actually do to your blood pressure, because you've allowed yourself to get, you've got into fight or flight whenever actually you're not in any physical immediate danger. Um, so the next Friday, I actually had to cancel the district nurses because on the 16th, the PICC line became red, um, angry looking, sore, and a little tiny little bit swollen. So I had to phone that emergency helpline again, and they arranged for me to come up on the Friday morning, the 17th. So I had to phone the district nurses and cancel them so they didn't come out on the Friday. Um, so when I get up to the PTU, the planned treatment unit, which, as you can tell, I'm saying planned treatment unit, and there are people in there having their planned treatment. And on that day, the thing that struck me was quite a few of those people were younger people. They were ladies in their 30s, maybe, in having treatments, as well as older folks and so on and so forth. Do you know? And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking the numbers of people going through, and then the types of people going through, and so on and so on. But anyway, on top of their plan treatment, they have people like me who randomly turn up for extracurricular stuff. So it's not just plan treatment; it's plan treatment plus. They thought it was a suspected infection. However, they were worried about a clot because you can never tell. And they needed to book me in for an ultrasound on the whole. They do the shoulder, the vein, right down into the PICC line to see. Um, but there weren't any appointments until the Monday. So they gave me Claxton injections, which are blood thinning injections to take over the weekend, 2 day. Not injecting yourself is not pleasant. I feel not sorry. Sorry is not the right word. Great empathy for anybody who has to do it regularly for diabetes or whatever reason people have to take injections regularly. Because it is not easy to inject yourself. Well, I don't find it easy to inject myself. Um, and then I had to come back on the Monday for the ultrasound at 4 p.m., which I did, and there was no blood clot. Yay, which is great. I never suspected there was a blood clot. I thought it was sore just because of the infection. Though, having said that, on the Friday, I did become really quite sore and ill in the hospital. So I ended up with a pain in the eye and a pain on the. So I had my hand in under my armpit and a hand over my eye. More for the heat. The heat of your hand I find very, very soothing. And in my world, in because I do Reiki and stuff, this is where the healing is in the hand. So they were going to close blinds and stuff around me, and I was all, but it's not the light, it's the pain. I'm trying to get rid of the pain, and I'd taken two paracetamol. And then I asked for something stronger, and it took them nearly the 4 hours to bring me something stronger. Now, in that time, a doctor did come around and do all sorts of peripheral vision tests and muscle tests to make sure there was no weaknesses and things there. And it wasn't, it was just, and she herself said, it's whatever this infection is, it's just irritating everything, irritating everything. And I agreed with her, but I just needed something a little bit stronger than. So I now carry my codeine with me all the time. Went back on the Monday, the ultrasound, they did the ultrasound, all clear. And then I went back up into the PTU because they hadn't got any venous return on the Friday. But nobody had booked me into PTU. They didn't know I was coming. But when I told them what was going on, they said, "Oh yes, you have to stay. Don't go home. Stay here. We'll get this sorted out." And one of the problems was because it was 4 o'clock getting the ultrasound, it must have been 4:30 by the time I was going up to PTU. And the doctor that was on was leaving at 5. And they wanted to send me for another x-ray. And I was like, absolutely not. And the best was the seat that I was in, they were just round the corner. So they were having the conversation there. Then the nurse was coming in and telling me, and I was saying whatever I was saying to her, and she was going back out to the doctor. He was just standing right there instead of him coming in and talking to me. But anyway, protocols and all that jazz. And I just said, absolutely not. I said, you've taken x-rays every time this PICC line hasn't worked, which at this stage was something like 5. You've taken x-rays, which involves the girls. And we're always told that x-rays near the girls are not good. The breast tissue is different from tissue and the rest of the body. I don't know whether it's because it's dense. It doesn't have any muscle and or bones or whatever in it, but it's different. It's more sensitive to X-rays and so on and so forth. And so, no, I'm not having another X-ray. So the doctor agreed that they would give me, he would write a prescription and they would give me the medication to clear the PICC line. The treatment worked. They left it longer. Instead of leaving it 30 minutes, they left it 14 minutes. And again, it was a coming up to PTU because it's a planned treatment unit and that whole Bridgewater suite closes at like 6 or 6:30. So some of the nurses go off at 6. So it started to get eerily quiet as people were going home and people and they were leaving the treatment. By the time they gave me the treatment, to leave it the 40 minutes or whatever, it was taking me to 10 to 6. Now the nurse, don't, I'll stay. And if not, if we need a second one, we'll call for one of the emergency doctors or one of the doctors over on ward 3, which is where we go for treatments in the cancer unit. And they've always got doctors and stuff on, and they don't close till 8 o'clock at night. Um, and that was grand. So the Friday where I went in and it was sore and I was in Belfast City Hospital for 5 hours, and on the Monday I was in for 2 hours. My appointment was 4, and we got to leave at 6 because thankfully the one treatment worked. Leaving at the 40 minutes worked, and they still don't know whether it's as they go to pull the plunger out to draw out the blood, whether it's the vein is getting stuck to the end of the PICC line or what it is. They've no idea, but it worked, and they were able to get venous return, and I could go home. So the next treatment, assessment and treatment was treatment 5, and it was on the 27th of April. Seen a different doctor, not my own doctor, and not the doctor I'd seen before. And she was, I don't know whether she was slightly more thorough. I was going to say she's slightly more thorough, but I don't actually think it was that. I think my doctor asked the questions, but she asked them in such a way, you know, at the previous one, assessment 4, she had said, how are you with the steroids? And I said, I'm fine. But for me, I was okay with the steroids because it was 2 days, and I thought I can thaw anything for 2 days. I can manage it for 2 days. But she had then extended it because she thought I was fine. She'd extended it, and I wasn't fine because it was causing all the constipation and all that jazz. So I don't actually know whether it was this doctor was more thorough or I was more prepared for the questions, and I was able to say, no, actually, I can't have the steroids because well, no, sorry, it's not the steroids that cause constipation. It's the anti-sickness causes constipation. It's the steroids cause me to be wired and tired. I get no sleep, and the brain's going busy, busy, busy all night long. So I think I was just prepared for the question this time when they said, "How are you getting on with the steroids?" So she changed my anti-sickness again to something else, and my appointment was 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. But my treatment wasn't until like 6 o'clock in the evening, which I couldn't quite believe 6 o'clock in the evening. And that's when I found out that Ward 3 stays open until 8 p.m. They were saying like 8:30 and 8 p.m. there can be people coming in for their treatment at 8 o'clock. Crazy, 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 crazy. And that's like every day from first thing in the morning, people in getting treatment. Fierce altogether. Um, treatment 5 went as treatments go. My hand kind of went bright red and swollen a wee bit. And then when the treatment was over and they put the flush through, it had gone back to normal. And the 2 days, the crashes afterwards were not as severe because of this medication. But when I read the medication, and thankfully I know I'm anally retentive, as some people would say. I do read the leaflets that come with the medications, and it said it interrupts your serotonin and your melatonin and your dopamine. So I had thankfully shown this to my husband because I kept losing my temper for no reason. And one of the things I lost my temper about was a memory of something that had happened like a fortnight beforehand, and I got really, really cross. And I'm going, this is ridiculous. But it was also, thank God I read that leaflet because if you hadn't read the leaflet, stuff could be going on and you could be having arguments with your loved ones without ever knowing that actually it's whatever the medication is doing to you because it's wrecked your serotonin, your melatonin, and your dopamine. And I ended up losing my temper, actually, not just at memories, but I ended up biting the nose off Stephen a couple of times and then going, it's medication, I'm so sorry. The funny, the ironic, not the funny, the ironic, maybe this, was that it took me back to when I was really ill, when I'd had my mental breakdown, because then I was snapping at things because I had no serotonin, no melatonin, no dopamine, no anything going on for me. And I used to snap at things all the time. And it just showed me how all the work I've done with all the tools, the meditation, the breathing, the visualization, the tapping, all of that, how and they say people can't change, and maybe me as a person, I haven't fundamentally changed. However, because I now have a handle on this is biology, and this is what I do to increase my resilience zone so that I can manage better and cope better and not snap at silly things, not let my fight or flight dictate my life. Um, how much my life has changed, how happier I am, how calmer I am, how less irritable I am. Um, yeah, and I find that quite fascinating. So in a way, although it wasn't pleasant to go through at the time when I was losing my temper, it was really, really good learning to look back and go, wow, look how far I've come that actually now I can see myself snapping and I can apologize because I know what's going on. Fascinating. Fabulous stuff. So the crashes wasn't quite um as bad, but still wasn't pleasant. And seemed to go on longer for some reason. So I don't know whether it's that, that it wasn't as bad, but because you were on whatever medication you were on, it went on that wee bit longer. Um whereas you normally have really, really two bad days. The Thursday and Friday would be really bad, and the Saturday and Sunday you weren't great because you were recovering from the crash. This horribleness went on maybe a full week, maybe more. I certainly, whereas I didn't feel sick, but I felt slightly nauseous and that horrible taste in my mouth where drinking things like diluting juice with lemonade or diluting juice in hot water because water tasted rotten with whatever was going on with my mouth. Um, to the point that one of the days I did finally go out for coffee with a friend and I got a pan au chocolat and I must have inhaled it because she says to me, Valerie, you had that terribly fast. Are you awfully hungry? Do you need me to go and get you something else? And I went, no, it's the first day I haven't felt sick. That's the first day something tasted like it should taste. And she's like, well, do you want something else? And I was like, no, no, that was enough. Um, but that's how, bad it was that I must have just gone with pan au chocolat. But anyway, so that was assessment and treatment number five. And I said I was going to do this in 30-minute things, and I haven't because here we are. A couple of weeks later, the PICC line didn't work again. And this time I had actually phoned the consultant to say I'm not having any more treatment. And the PICC line stopped working the next day. And I went up to the hospital and I thankfully between talking to the clinical nurse specialist and the consultant's secretary, she had given instructions that they were allowed to take my PICC line out, that she had agreed there would be no more treatments. And for some reason, they made an appointment for me for the Monday to speak to the consultant. And it was the Monday after the bank holiday, the early May bank holiday. And the place was bunged, absolutely bunged. And so we waited 2 hours, and in the end, I wrote her a wee letter just saying, thanks very much for everything, and I'll see you later. And I asked her about a couple of other treatments that may or may not help. They may not even be available in Northern Ireland, etc. Microwave ablations and other things. And a new medication that was actually for Crohn's that for some reason is working very, very well with ovarian cancer. Not necessarily the type I have, but there's no harm in asking the question. Um, and yeah, I kind of left it at that and thought I'll see her when I see her. So I'm down to get I had a scan Monday this week, and normally that triggers then an appointment with the consultant in about 2 weeks' time. And in the meantime, one of the things that happened, I kind of thought I'm over 55, so I should actually be able to cash in my pension because if if you've listened to this regularly, you'll know there's no benefits or anything coming in. And according to the consultant, I have less than a year to live. But she hasn't given me the DS1 500, or it's now known as an SR1 or something. Um, and according to PIP, I'm not sick enough to get PIP. So I decided to uh, contact the pension people to see could I cash in my pension. And actually, I was on a Thursday, and the doctor that comes in to, and all I sent them was the CT scan report, and from after the third treatment, and the GP then was in that evening, the Thursday evening, and he decided he didn't even need to see me. Having seen the report, he medically retired me, and so at some point I should be getting my pension. And when I see the consultant, if she still thinks I have less than a year to live, then I should be getting an SR1 and I should be able to get PIP, I think. But anyway, so that's where we are. And having said that, I'm actually back to work because I'm not as sick as I was, and I'm making adjustments. So if I know like this Thursday coming, I'm going out to do a creative journaling um workshop. And I I just make sure I rest on the Wednesday. I make sure I don't have anything on the Thursday afternoon so that if I need to go to bed and sleep after the workshop, that I can. Um, so it's about being more creative in the way that you work and more realistic that I don't have the physical energy, the physical ability to deliver in the way that I used to. And it's working around that. But somebody had asked, was I still working? And I am still working, just in a different way at different times when I can. Um, I think one of the other questions I got as well was, why would you not keep fighting? Well, I never was fighting. I'm not a fighter. I don't fight. I'd argue. I don't fight. Um, and why would you fight something that's in your body? And if I die, does that mean I lost the battle? I lost the war? I lost the that language doesn't sit well with me. And you might know people that that language absolutely sits well with them, and they are absolutely fighting for their life, and they're fighting for their survival, and they're fighting for their family or their loved ones or whatever. And that's perfect for them. It's not perfect for me. I don't like that. But that's my choice. I kind of say I'm dancing with this disease, and for me, it's about learning what's going on with me, for me, what's going on in my body that my immune system got so low. 'Cause everybody has cancer in their bodies, but your immune system recognizes it and gets rid of it. So what stopped working with my immune system that it didn't keep that it whatever was going on with me allowed this to take hold, and that I haven't in all the work that I've done with diet, nutrition, and mindset and so on for I haven't been able to clear it. Um, any other questions? Please, 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 please feel free to ask them. I love the questions. I can't predict what it is that you would need to know and whether my ramblings help or not or cover the questions that you have. So if there are any questions at all, please feel free to text them in below and I will answer as best I can. But like I say, everybody's journey is different. So even if I answer, I'm answering from my perspective with regards to my story. I suppose the thing to say is yes, once the PICC line came out, that was it. My treatment was finished. I was done. So the last treatment I had was the 27th of April. Yay! Free. And it takes your body time to recover from treatment, regardless of how ill it made you or didn't make it. It does take time, and the cancer's still there. So I'm working with that all the time. How's my energy today? How's my fatigue? How's my mood? How's my pain levels, etc. And it's just managing. Like I say, I carry the codeine with me all the time now, along with paracetamol. Um, and we just do the best we can with what we've got. And I suppose it's about what I'm willing to accept. Um, what level of pain I'm willing to accept, what level of fatigue I'm willing to accept, what level of um work I'm willing to put in between times, etc. So there will probably be one more podcast after this, which will be what happens with the last scan and the consultant's appointment, whether we hear anything about whether I can get microwave ablation or that other medication for Crohn's is suitable for somebody like me, etc. In the meantime, I wish you good emotional well-being. Take care. Bye bye.